We're now live.
Woohoo.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Hey. Sharon Glassman here from Smile Songs with the amazing Jessie Burns in our tiny bathroom concert. It's tiny.
Very tiny.
It's really,
she's not lying. It's tiny.
It's really tiny. So I thought we'd start with our theme song, and if anything happens, you know, just know that this is live. I'm going to try and squish in here next to Miss Jessie, and maybe I'll play a vertical guitar. This is our beautiful theme song, which if you've seen us before, you may recognize. And it goes like this. It's the show about it starts in C. It's the show about positively creative people created by an introvert. Welcome to our tiny, tiny, tiny bathroom concert. And I sang it in the wrong key, but that's okay because we're live. Welcome, Jessie, and thank you for your patience as we figure out our theme song.
Thank you for me. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. So I started this little series, as I was saying, in kind of a Mr. Rogers kind of mindset, like who are the amazing people in our neighborhood? Mm-hmm. And I've long been fascinated by you.
How exciting.
I know. So I thought I would ask you a bit about your life and talk a little bit about your music and what you're up to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Sound of Music style. I'm going to try and slide even closer to you. So there we go. Hi.
There we go.
There. So start us from the beginning, because you have roots both in the UK and the US, is that right?
I do, yeah. My mum is American, but lived in England for 50-something years.
Wow.
And my dad was born in England to Irish parents. So I had this kind of trifecta of America, England and Ireland going on through my whole childhood. So.
And you grew up?
I grew up on the east coast of England in a beautiful coastal community kind of area, farming and coastal community in Suffolk, the county of Suffolk.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And music is a part of your whole family, is that right?
Yeah, it is. I have a step family that's insanely musical. They're really amazing. And then my mom's musical. My dad has never learned. He's one of those people, you know, that is just exudes musicianship, but he's not actually a musician. Huh. He's like, he's just so musical. He listens to music. He loves classical music the most.
Okay.
So yeah, I was always surrounded by it, but both of my parents didn't play, just my mom.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what led you to the fiddle/violin?
I think it was one of those, you know, you're like 6, 7, 8, need an instrument, cello's too big. There's an awesome violin teacher available, so I did that. And I had a lovely teacher for years, Jane Bramall, and when I first got my first big hit album with Gaelic Storm, I sent her my first ever album, and she was over the moon. It was really an exciting thing to do because she taught me for years and years.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
Well, that brings me to a question that I'm really intrigued by.
Yeah.
So, when do you know, like, I can really do this? Like, you said first hit album, which is awesome, and I want to talk about that. When do you know that you're the kind of musician who can do this for real and make a hit album and all that good stuff?
Oh, well, you know, that's a great question. I wonder that myself all the time, because I found myself sort of in my 20s really wanting to play more, and I was in the performing arts field as an administrator, and I'd worked as a festival director, and so I was around the people all the time doing this. And I remember presenting Darol Anger one day in Steamboat Springs at the festival where I worked, and just said, God, I really want to get on the road. I really want to be playing. And I think Tim O'Brien as well, they both, you know, said, you should just go for it. Just go for it. So I had access to kind people who, you know, support young musicians or older music. They just support music and in people. And then I remember my mom kind of having a conversation with me in my later 20s saying, look, you gotta get something going. I'm worried, you know, we want a proper career, we want, you know. And I said, okay, give me 6 months. And I just threw it out there. I said, I'll either be in an international touring band,
wow,
or I'm going to go to medical school. I was like, there's the two things, one of those two things I was going to like reinvent. And I said, they're like the two things I'd really like to do. Wow. And so I put a MySpace page together, and I really just started thinking I really want to be traveling, and I kind of acted as if I already was. I kind of did the secret thing. I don't know if you're familiar with that, where you sort of like manifest what you want to happen by acting as if it already had. And I thought, well, it can't hurt. So I'll try that, and I'd specifically put it out there that instead of like doing it all by myself, I kind of had this thought that I wanted to sort of farm myself out to a group that had already made it. Because I was really conscious of how hard it is to make it from kind of nothing to being out there. It's so hard, but if you had the chops and you could join someone that had already done that, maybe that could be a way I could do it.
Yeah.
And it was extraordinary, because within, I think it was like between 2 and 3 weeks of having this MySpace page up, I got a call from Sony management saying, there's this band, Gaelic Storm, that I was really familiar with already. I'd seen them for years, you know, listened to their music for years, and they're looking for a fiddle player. Would you like to audition? And I thought, well, I can't like go this far and say no, so I said yes, I'd love to, and that was sort of how that happened.
Wow.
But it was definitely an acknowledgement that it was so hard to get there all by yourself, and I consciously thought, I'll try and join forces with other people.
Wow.
Because it just felt too hard.
Would it be possible, and I'll probably have to duck out if anyone's seeing me, I'm going to disappear, for you to play either a bit of a song or a riff or anything from that time period of one of the songs that either, I don't know, that was on your MySpace page or that...
Gosh, I don't even know what was on my MySpace page anymore. I need to check that page out. I haven't even seen it.
Is MySpace still...
I don't even know. I should probably find out.
Well, this is probably the most, like, awesome MySpace page story ever. So, or a bit of anything, or anything you're feeling on this area. I'm gonna try and get my.
I'll move around sideways here,
and I'll move around this way.
Oh, okay.
Miss Jessie Burns.
Also, some of the stuff I love playing is I really dig like kind of really melodic, kind of slower, pretty stuff.
Ooh, that would be
what I love to do.
Then do that, because it's Saturday.
It is Saturday, and it's just after Christmas.
Yes. So let's...
Yeah, so that would be nice.
Oh, that'd be incredible.
So there's a lovely tune I love to play by a guy called Jerry Holland, who passed away a few years ago now. And there's a funny story behind this tune. Should I tell it?
Yes, please. No, do.
That I'd learned this tune in Northern England when I lived up there when I was at university, and I didn't know the name of it, and no one had told me the name of it. It was one of those sort of like, oh, we don't know what it is, but we all love this tune, so I learned it. And then I was on a mission to try and find out what it was, because I wanted to record it. And so anyone that knew loads of tunes, I'd always play them a bit and say, do you know this tune, do you know this tune? No, don't know it. And then I was hanging out with this guy, Jerry Holland, in Baltimore, in Ireland, at the Baltimore Fiddle Festival. And I said, do you know this tune, Jerry? And he listened to about 6 notes of it, and he said, yes, I do. He said, I wrote it, and you're playing it in the wrong key.
That's amazing.
So I know, it's called Bo Baby's Lullaby. It's by Jerry Holland, and I still play it in the wrong key. It should be an E, apparently, but
well, this is the theme, but this is the theme of our show, playing things in the wrong key.
Right,
yes.
So we're in the wrong key. So
perfect.
There we go. Yeah, here we go. 2, 3, 2, 2.
Wow. I'm like, that is so
Isn't that a
beautiful.
pretty tune?
It's so, yeah, and our bathroom has never sounded better.
Oh, well, thank you. There's something about bathrooms. They always have such great acoustics.
They really do. So I'd love to chat with you a little bit more about that song and about, so Celtic fiddling, Irish fiddling, same thing, different thing?
Celtic fiddling, Irish fiddling. Well, I guess Celtic fiddling could include like Scottish fiddling, Irish fiddling, French Canadian, Breton fiddling, Galician fiddling. The Celtic nations, there's 7 Celtic nations, so I guess if you're playing music from any of those 7, the folk tradition, then you could be playing Celtic.
And this tune is?
Well, he is North American, but he was North American, but he lived in Canada.
Oh.
And he was really entrenched in the Nova Scotian tradition. So I'm not sure quite what you'd call that one, because Nova Scotian has a lot of roots in the Scottish fiddle tradition, more than Irish, really. But I guess it's safe to say that it's played really commonly as a kind of not a standard, but it's played a lot in the Irish session community, that tune. So yeah, I would just to be safe, I'd call it Celtic.
Fair enough, because it was funny when I first thought of you, and I don't know a lot about Celtic fiddling and the different, clearly there is a world to know. I just learned that. So I had initially done a little graphic that said Irish fiddler, and then I saw your website and I was like, no, she's a Celtic fiddler. And then I'm like, and I don't even know what I'm talking about, but we should find out. But one thing that struck me about that very, very beautiful melody, to me, was almost hearing elements of pipes or in some of the trills, and I was just curious if I was imagining that, or if that's something that you feel as well with the kind of song that this is.
That's really interesting. I hadn't thought about like the pipe sound in that particular tune, but you might be hearing the kind of like the Scottish, the Nova Scotian kind of, obviously the pipes are, really heavy in the Scottish tradition. It could also be the way I play, because if you're just hearing the ornaments, like I could take all of the ornaments out, and who knows what you'd hear then, do you know what I mean? But like the way different people's styles is often kind of how they execute ornaments, and I played with a piper for years and years, where I would have to match his ornaments. So I might have a touch of piping ornaments that I don't even know I'm doing,
Yeah, it's really exciting, because I'm used to hearing solo fiddle one way through the people that I listen to here, and there's a lot of bluegrass here, and there's a lot of country here, and clearly there's a connection between the traditions that we're talking about with your music and then the American bluegrass traditions. Huge crossover. I wondered if maybe is that something you could touch on for our viewers, our listeners?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's been a really interesting development in kind of Celtic and bluegrass, and with the new grass. Obviously, it's not that new anymore, but that whole kind of genre, which really does tend to blend the Celtic traditions a little more into, say, old-time American and bluegrass, and it kind of like seems to mix them all, and it started its whole own kind of spin-off from that, hasn't it? It seems like it's a strong genre that encompasses a lot of the folk traditions of the countries that kind of came to the States with their music, the people. So I really do hear it. Of course, if I'm playing in a bluegrass jam, I find it really hard not to do Celtic ornaments. Like, I definitely don't sound at home there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But same can be said if I play Irish music. It tends to have a bit of a twang to it.
Oh, so you're your own crossover.
A little bit. I'd say I'm definitely more in the Celtic realm.
Yeah.
But then old time is so catchy, right? Like,
right.
If you're playing some old time tunes, that the beat of the old time can really kind of get into the Irish music sometimes. And like in one of the bands I'm in, Take Down the Door, we do some really fun old time Celtic blends, and it's such fun to play.
And that's a really fun band, so maybe you could tell everybody a little bit about Take Down the Door and what you guys are up to.
Yeah, we're a band, all local people from the Front Range. We've got 2, Adam Agee and John Sousa in Boulder, and then Beth Gabbau, lovely singer in Lyons, and myself and my husband Eric in Lyons. And we've been together years and in different combinations with each other, probably 15 years or so.
Really?
With, like, I've been playing with 2 of the others for ages, and we formed Take Down the Door probably about, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago. And yeah, we have a great time putting really driving music together. Gets people dancing, that's for sure. And we're off. We had a really exciting trip up to Milwaukee in October. We went to the showcase for the Milwaukee Irish Festival. Who knew the biggest Irish festival in the whole world was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin?
It is?
It is in August.
Oh, but of course.
Of course. I've played it lots of times with Gaelic Storm, but it would be the first time if we get in with Take Down the Door. So we thought it would be really fun to try and play some of the bigger North American festivals. So we'll see what happens with that, but that would be exciting. I think we're going to play the Colorado Irish Festival, and there's a wonderful Irish festival in the Spanish Peaks area of Colorado, near the Veda and Walsenburg and that kind of area.
Mm-hmm.
They get some of the top players in the entire world to fly out to Denver, drive all the way out to the central mountains in Colorado, and it is a stunningly good Irish festival. And it's kind of like under the radar.
Huh.
But if anyone wants an amazing experience of, like everyone you go and watch who are like stars within that realm, then you just go hang out in the pub afterwards and watch sessions or watch like really intimate concerts with them and have workshops and get to hang out. It's a really unusual, special festival.
And what do you think it is about this type of Irish folk music, is that fair to call it?
Yeah.
That makes it so widely international and so embraced by people in so many different places?
I think it has to be. How many people do you know that don't have any Irish blood in them? I hardly know any.
Right.
I don't know. Or people, who know someone that does. Or,
yeah.
I don't know. And that music just, I feel like it's in our bones, somehow. And then it's so infectious anyway. If it happens to not be, then.
Right.
But I mean, the Irish have emigrated to so many places, and I think that like the crux of the music, what makes it so special, is that it's not about showing off and being a soloist, really. It's about sitting with your community around a table in the pub or in the kitchen and playing music and talking and teaching the kids to get involved in the tradition and learning songs by ear,
Yep.
That's how it's always been. It was an oral tradition, and now there's a printing, obviously the printing press is available to everyone, and there's huge databases online of Irish tunes and songs, so you can really research, you can really dig in, so it's everyone's able to have access to the tunes in a totally different way this time, at this point. Yeah. So I think it has that community, like that nugget of what's missing in life from so much of modern life now. I feel like the tradition of the folk music and sitting with your friends and playing tunes and talking and looking out for each other is even more special than perhaps it's been,
So it's almost like creating a community through sound.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And I'd love to go back for a second and talk about the difference between learning music for people who are musicians or not musicians out here. There are probably many more, but there's two ways, and one is, as we talked about, through sheet music, looking at notes on a page, which is almost immediately, I guess, blocking you off or making a private relationship between you and the music to some extent. And then there's this live learning in a community, whether it's in a pick or in a pub or with friends, and it's such a different experience. I just wondered if you had a take, if you have a preference, or what you feel the difference is for young beginners who are learning in one way or the other.
Oh, that's a great question. Layers to that question there. I think when you're learning music, like I teach a lot of music, and I always make sure that everyone I teach knows how to read music, but they also get confident with ear training. So I think then you're set, you could go and just learn by ear and be comfortable, and you can read music,
Yeah.
Having said that, I'm always amazed at when I meet some like serious superstars in the music industry and they don't know how to read music, and it really intimidates them. And they feel like they've left it too long and now they can't. And there's a lot, you'd be amazed who, so, you know, you don't have to be able to read music. You just have to be good with listening and relative pitch and, you know, all that stuff. But with Irish music, like if you're at, say, the pub session, you very, very rarely would see anyone with music out on the table. You might see people with song words out, I see that.
Yeah.
But I think there's sort of a thing that you get good enough to know some tunes by ear, and then you'd kind of join in the community aspect of it and learn by ear as you go along. And I mean, now you just bring your iPhone and you can record the songs you don't know, and you know, and then you can go home and you know, work on your chops and learn things that way, which can be, I mean, that's a whole new thing, right?
Yes, it's interesting. The first time I saw someone pull out their phone to tune an instrument.
Yeah, right.
I was right. I mean, and again, starting with when I started, we're talking like pitch pipe, ding on the chair, boom on the fiddle.
Yeah.
You know, resonate up.
Yeah.
And now I was like, oh, it definitely makes a lot more sense. I just didn't think of my phone. Also, I didn't think of my phone as a video transmission device. Hi again. But I wonder for the new generation that's growing up in this world, do you think that's going to impact the way music is going to sound in 20 years?
How it's going to sound? I'm such like a non-technological person. I don't even know where to go with that question.
Yeah.
Seeing as how much has changed already.
Yeah.
Like, you can make your own album in your garage.
Or in your tiny bathroom.
In your tiny bathroom.
Those were my glasses.
Oh no.
That's okay.
It's changing faster than I can even keep up. But like you, I'm amazed. Like a phone, I use it for tuning, for recording, for recording tunes on voice memos, sending them to my students.
Yep.
Yeah. I use it all the time for music. I never would have thought that would happen.
And again, it's the oral tradition, because I guess what's interesting to me is we're talking about a folk music form that has endured for centuries, yeah. centuries,
yeah.
And is passed down and was born, I think, in a large way because there was no technology. So when night falls, you gather with your friends, you're playing music, I learn the song from you, I pass it on to somebody else. There's a tradition there, and the tradition is being facilitated by technology. Maybe the sound won't change because the sound is what we're trying to preserve. I don't know.
I think the sound has changed a lot. Thankfully, there's a whole like side shoot to this, I think, as well. Like, thankfully, within Irish music, there are, I don't know what you'd call them, like the tunekeepers, like the people that maintain the bones of the tradition, who are really respected and who have published books, have they're part of libraries. They're well recognized tradition keepers. They keep it safe so we can remember how the bones of the tradition really are laid out there. And, that's on one side of it. And then on the other side, you have, say, Celtic rock bands or people who may or may not have been steeped in the tradition of, the community sitting around the table. They may or may not have that. I don't know.
Right.
And they could be taking what they hear as a traditional tune into a whole nother pathway, And oddly enough, a lot of people, that's their introduction to Irish music.
Right, so they can hear the more modern, and then perhaps go back to the tradition and be like, oh, where did that come from?
Yeah.
This is interesting. With Gaelic Storm, you were on the more modern edge, or were you more...
I'd say more modern edge, yeah, and definitely more modern edge. And it kind of depended like who they had in the band, because the two lead guys, Steve Twigger and Pat Murphy, started the band, and they are not so steeped in the tradition so much. Like, they didn't play melodic instruments growing up in an Irish setting so much, but Pat is Irish, so he grew up with the songs. He's a singer, and so he kind of did more, but then so they'll hire people in over the years, and so each person they hire in will add their like inflection to the sound. So
Cool.
they've had the same lineup for the fiddle players changed a bit. I was in it for 6 years, which is the longest anyone's been in it actually.
Wow.
As a fiddle player, yeah. And they have lovely Katie Grennan now, who's really a traditional player as well. So yeah, just that band, you know, they normally have like a fiddle player or maybe a whistle player and the piper who will be playing the kind of traditional melodies, and that will be embedded in a more kind of rocky setting, if you know what I mean.
So
it's a real mix. Yeah.
So you're the diamond in the setting of the ring.
On a good day. On a good day. I'm not sure that is.
Oh, come on. Oh, I'd love for you to play anything else you'd like, and then let's talk about what you're doing now, and then I want to ask you my question about fashion as a form of music.
Yeah. Fashion as a form of music.
I think people who dress incredibly well.
I qualify.
Totally. You're like my fashion icon in Colorado, always looking amazing. Like I see you at a fairgrounds for like a bluegrass festival. I'm like, who's that woman in that incredible oh, hi.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that makes me feel so much better. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. All these elegant, sort of beautiful dresses and...
Oh, fun.
Oh, yeah. And I'm like...
You have to come to my house, look in my wardrobe, and tell me which ones they are, and I'll make sure to wear them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, rock. But we'll talk about it. So let's play something. We'll talk about what you're doing, then we'll talk about fashion, and we'll say goodbye to everybody.
Okay. So I'm going to try and play, if I can remember how it goes. I'm having trouble thinking of it right now. A lovely, really, 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 really old tune, Irish tune called Inisheer, and it's about, there's islands off the west coast of Ireland, and Inisheer is one of those islands.
Cool.
So, oh man, I've forgotten the first notes of it. Let me just think here. This is a problem, you know, hundreds of tunes.
Yes.
And then they will disappear when you need one of them. Oh gosh. Oh, there it is.
Ooh, that was so beautiful.
I love that one.
Thank you, Jessie Burns.
You're welcome.
Tell us the name of that again.
Inisheer.
Inisheer, does that means... or is it a place?
It's a place. It's an island, yeah.
It's a beautiful name.
Isn't it lovely? It's very old, hundreds of years old, that tune.
Wow, and it sounds totally current. Like, and I think about the landscape that we're sitting in, this sunny kind of wintry day in a mountain foothills. I'm like, yeah, that works. That works. Works for me.
Yeah.
So what's next for you?
Ooh, what's next? Well, you know what? I've got a horrible admission to make. I've been trying to make a solo album for, I think, maybe a decade.
Hey.
Right?
Yeah.
I know of one other person that's beat me by 2 years, so there's some company out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got this gorgeous solo album that I'm going to put out to the world. And my husband Eric is going to help produce it for me.
Yay.
He's like, right, you need some help, so I'm going to get that out there, and I've got some lovely musicians on that. And actually a dear friend, lovely banjo player, brilliant banjo player, friend Darren Maloney passed away earlier this year, and he's on probably maybe 8 tracks of it, I think, and that was like, you know, I was like, right, you can go on tour and have a rest and have a baby and have a rest and have another baby and have a rest, but you've got to get this done. And then Darren passed away and I was like, right, it's got to get out there. So
yes,
I want to put his sound back out there again. So.
And if people want to get news on that, it's jessieburns.com.
It is, yeah, jessieburns.com.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then let's segue to our last question of the day.
Yeah.
So back to this idea of fashion as possibly a form of music.
Mm-hmm.
When you put together one of your super adorable albums, I'm thinking, all right, we saw your band, you were at Oscars, you're wearing this little like navy dress with like a little, it was like a red and white flower pattern.
Oh,
it had like a swingy skirt. Yeah, that one.
I love that dress.
I love that dress.
Yeah.
So clearly, because this was like several years ago, and I'm not a stalker.
I wear it all the time.
Oh, you do. All right. So I love. All right. So I love this dress, and you're playing in the dress, and the dress is sort of moving, and it's great.
Oh, good.
So when you get dressed for a gig or you get dressed for life, is there any thought that things either feel either in harmony or there's like a rhythm to what you're wearing between the patterns and the colors and the fabrics, or am I just making up a theory?
I'd love to be that organized. Actually, that's like maybe I'll adopt that for the next time. Now I always go for dresses. I kind of like learned through experimentation. I think with Gaelic Storm actually, because we'd be playing in front of tens of thousands of people sometimes, and you really don't want a wardrobe malfunction. You don't want to be thinking about that. Like there's too much pressure from all sides, you do not want that. So I kind of learned the comfort and like confidence in the outfit, like it's not going to fall off or it's not gonna, that's always a bad one. So I guess that kind of comes first, and then color. I really like different colors, and that particular dress you're talking about has patterns in it that looks slightly Celtic. The weaving of it is just a little like that. So I just I don't do it so much now, but when I was in Gaelic Storm, I was always on the lookout for stage clothes because you needed a lot of different outfits. Yeah. Really. Yeah. Which was fun. Yeah. I'd never really been into that much before, but no, that was a fun part of being in a big band. So I noticed there's a bluegrass fiddler, Becky Bueller, who was at Rocky Grass. And again, picking up fashion tips that I didn't know existed. Mm-hmm. Saw her on stage and she looked great. She had a dress on. And then I saw her in the campground she was picking, and she was wearing beige fishnets. So skin-colored fishnets. Oh, yeah. And I was like, pro tip. It is. I have a friend that wears those, actually. Yeah. Yeah, covered up. I didn't think about it, but clearly she's on stage all the time. Yeah. And again, I wasn't stalking, but I was like, I tried it. Yeah, and I was like, about these things. Yeah, and I was like, oh, makes all the little freckles or whatever sort of fade out and gives you the long line, and yet you look like you're not wearing it. I might have to go get some. Yeah, they're at Target. Brilliant. Let's go. I got really. Yeah. And there's funny things like weighting the hem of your dress. What? Yeah, because if you're on stage and the wind blows, and wearing like bike shorts or Spanx or something underneath, and then weighting the hem of your dress so you don't end up. Okay. And weighting it. What? Little. You know what I've done before in an emergency situation? Duct taped coins on the inside of the. See, it's so glamorous. This is like amazing. So I want to go on tour with you. Yeah, I had to do that once. I remember, at least once. But you can get little like magnets, I think, and things like that. There's some pro gear out there for that. See, these are the things that I had a sense stuff. Well, great. Anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up today's Tiny Bathroom Concert? Oh my gosh. Well, I'll try and slide in next to you. I know I've been out of the frame here. Now I'm in the frame. Gosh. I think that thought of like in the present day and age that like reinvesting our energy into community folk music and helping kids, teenagers, especially teenagers, I feel like, find a place where they can have a voice with music and be supported by elders and not so elders. I think, as I talk about it, that's feeling like, oh, that might be a new thing. Try and get more of my students feeling really embraced by that. Because that feels important right now. So go play music.
pleased, I'm like blah, blah, stuttering at the end. So pleased to have Jessie Burns with us today in the tiny bathroom. I'm Sharon Glassman. We will be back, and look for this concert on YouTube in the new-ish year, and we'll keep you posted when that's going to be. And Jessie Burns, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Sharon.
Sure.
Yeah.
See you guys soon.
Happy New Year.
Bye.
Bye.
Now we have to turn it off. Let's see. And we'll wave. Hi. We don't know how to turn you off, so we're gonna press end. There it is. Boop. End live video. And there's an option to save. Wait, where's save?